Good morning. Welcome back to 3-day weekend. I'm out in the barn dealing with Provolone. He's letting me down, really getting to me. Refuses to start. Battery issues. It's been giving me grief for a few months, to be totally honest, and I've just been limping it along. But we're to the point now where even if I let it run for a couple of hours out on the trails, shut it off, and immediately try to restart it, there's nobody home. So we're gonna replace that battery today. But not just replace it, we're gonna replace it with 2 batteries. Upgrades, serious upgrades. Let's hop to it. Now Polaris sells a kit to install 2 batteries into the RZR. It has a spot for 2 batteries and everything, but the kit that they sell is $90, I think, and from what I could tell, it's a bracket, a little piece of metal, 2 bolts, and 2 pieces of wire for $90. And it just ties 2 batteries together, essentially doubling your capacity. That's not good enough for me. I want 1 battery designated for running all the accessories and the lights and everything, so I can leave them on for hours and it won't matter. And the other battery specifically for starting the machine. So I've got a couple of ideas, but step 1 is I need to get this thing up in the barn, or up in the garage, and get a couple batteries in it. Well, I was gonna take it over to the garage, but since it's so dead, these things really do not like to be jump started. You can fry the computer, so I try not to do it if I can help it. So I'm just gonna take the battery out right here, take it down to the battery shop, get a different one, and then I'll be able to start it without jumping it and take it inside. Looks like it's held in with a couple of bolts in the battery. I was able to get those loose with my pliers, and then a 10mm, no, a Torx 40 down there holding the bracket on. So I'm gonna yank that out, take it to the battery shop and get a different one. Got myself 2 batteries. Those are the strongest possible batteries I could find that fit exactly where it is. And you see Polaris made a second spot for that one. And that's the original. And then you've got a little fender clip and a fender clip, but they didn't give you the fender clip there, or the fender clip down there, or the second bracket, which you can buy for, like I said, $80-some. You just need another one of these, which I have made out of a spare piece of aluminum. It's not quite as thick as the other one, but it'll do the job just fine. Even found a little piece of double-sided whatever, stick it right there. For $80, we're gonna run this guy. So now I just need to find 2 fender clips and 2 more bolts. I have plenty of spare bolts that'll fit in there, but I don't have fender clips, so I'm gonna keep looking. Once I get that hooked up, I'll start looking at the battery isolator and we'll get that going. I'm back and I found at Lowe's. I did not expect to find them at Lowe's. Oh, I ripped right through the label. They're 1/4" 20 U-type extruded U-nuts. They were in with the drawers, well, the specialty bolts. And they had bolts there, but I had a couple laying around from other projects and stuff. They fit right in there perfect. So I've got my piece of carpet trim bolted down, little piece of foam in there, and that battery will not move. So now I'm on to wiring, and I have 2 things that have come in. The first is the smart battery isolator. I've used that before in Tyler's machine, the white 800. And I have this huge 40 amp block that we're going to use to get the wire that's coming from the bus bar, and then it goes down to the main power distribution box here. We're going to take that off, bypass it with this, and run a dedicated wire out to the positive battery. So I'm going to find a place to mount this bad boy in here somewhere, most likely here. We'll see how it goes. And then take some measurements to see how long the wires need to be to connect this all up. Got all my measurements jotted down. I really don't need many. I need a black one from there to there. That's 11 inches. I need one from here to the relay. That's 11 inches. And one from here to the relay. Well, that's 11 inches.
And then one from here to in there. And that one is 39 inches. Yeah. So that's all I need. I've written down my very crude wiring diagram. That's what I'm going for. So now I'm going to run down to 352 batteries just downtown because he's got all the wires and everything I need and all the eyelets to do it. Might as well do it there. So I'll be back with the wiring. Got my wires all made up. Yep. Okay. That one looks good. I'm going to get all this hooked up here and get my isolator mounted on the inside. I checked the inside. There's nothing on the other side, and you can actually touch it. So I know that I'm not going to be screwing in anything right there. And it came with screws. I don't know if those are going to be good enough. I might mount it with bolts. We'll see how it goes. Things are going well. I have it mounted right there. Let me give you some light. Yep, there it is. I mounted it upside down because there is a little light right here which will show me if it's on or off. It's easier to see that way. This is just going to the back. It's a battery tender hookup that I installed. It just sits back in here. So I can just plug it in if it's going to sit for a bit. There we go. There's the dog. Keeping track of me. He's right in the middle of my work zone though. So yeah, one up to the primary battery, one to the secondary battery. It's grounded, and I installed this little switch right here, which is a manual override. If you click that on, it throws the relay. Did you hear that? Can you see the little light? Oh, it's so hard to see, but it's there. So if you run your main battery down, you hit that button, it'll manually throw those batteries together and let you jump start it. In a minute it'll click the relay back off. Eventually. I don't know what the delay is, but it's not instant. So the next thing I'm doing is running the main lead from here up through and installing that big 40 amp fuse to link it to the bus bar. We're done! Boy, it seems so simple, and then the more you hook it up, the more complicated it gets.
Pausing the video. I'm sitting here editing and I'm looking at everything and okay, yeah, it's simple, but it's starting to look kind of complicated. So I figure it might help if I did up a wiring diagram. So I put all of my mastery photo editing skills to the test and made this diagram. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Like my kid made it, but that's the best I can do, so that's what we have. And I figured I could go through the wire real quick and just show what each one did. So we'll start with the easy ones, the black ones. On the top, there's one here. It attaches to the battery here. That is just the ground, and it's jumpering the two together. And then the one right next to it is the one that just goes to the machine. So that takes care of your ground wire right there. And then the other positive wire coming off the top right here, that is going to the machine too. So those ones are easy. Then we have this wire coming off battery 1, and it's going to the start battery on your battery isolator. So that's pretty straightforward. And you have the same thing on battery 2, wire coming off that terminal going to the battery isolator. So that is what ties the two batteries together when it is tripped. Carrying on from there, the battery isolator has a ground wire, and we're just running that up to the battery. That's this black wire. And then the other wire is the yellow wire coming out of the isolator, and that runs over to this switch, and then that goes to the ground wire on the battery there. So that is that circuit. And then the only other wire is the long one I was talking about, the 39 incher. That's coming off the secondary battery, and that's the one that runs all the way up to the fuse that I mentioned in the video that runs to the pulse bar. So that is just a quick walkthrough of the wiring diagram, kind of lay it out and explain what each wire does, make it a little easier to see what's happening in there, all that magic. Okay, I'm going back inside.
So this one's feeding the bus bar. See, it goes through, and it goes out into there, and then it hits that fuse, which is right next to the main bus bar, so I'll never forget. You can see it was right on that terminal right there, which is no longer working. So did this modification just in time. That fuse is not going to stay pretty. Oh, looks like it's not quite snapped all the way. I'll close that. So the ultimate test is starting it. And once I start it, that little light I showed you earlier should come on to tie the batteries together. Now, before I start it, I know there are limitations to the way I hook this up, because right now the lights do not work. None of these switches work. And that is because the ignition is off. If I turn the ignition on, interior light is on. See, okay, they're all on. So I will need to leave the key in the accessory position. The ignition is off, but it is an accessory. So the radio is going to stay on, and the interior lights and the little accent light in the back and the one in the front is going to be on. But that's not terrible. Much better than leaving the ignition on altogether. Even though it is slightly draining that power from the main battery. But now I've got two batteries. I can tie them together. And the main load, which runs all of these things, you know, that won't be pulling from the main battery. So that'll be much better. Oh, my whip lights forgot how to function. Must be I had them disconnected too long and they forgot. I have to reset them to the colors I want. I need two hands to start this thing. We'll test everything. Everything is on, but let me shut off this light. Did our light come on? It did. So both of those batteries are tied together right now, charging off the machine. And if I do this, it will eventually disconnect them, but it waits a while. See the light's still on? Oh, there it goes. It just unclicked. So now they're isolated, even though I left it in the accessory position. So now the main load for all the lights and everything are coming off the secondary battery. Cool. That works. That should keep me from dying in the middle of the woods. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every viewer and every subscriber. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll put the button right there. All you got to do is click on it. And check out my playlist. There's a ton of other videos about this machine, fixing it, doing upgrades and stuff like that. Cool stuff if you want to check it out. All right, until next time, we'll see you later.